And hello and welcome to Agile World. How are you doing, Karl?
I'm great, thanks. I seem to be lost in the words there. It's an interesting talk. Is there a particular place we're meant to start reading it?
Hey, well, I thought because you always wear your Wednesday black shirt, is that, or is that your Thursday or your Friday black shirt? I keep forgetting.
I got a job lot from Ninjas R Us. Just accept it as it is.
I need to speak to your wife because I reckon you've got the days on the back of each black t-shirt that says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I've got the tracking chip that she holds the tracker for on the back of this.
Do you change up on a Sunday? Do you maybe go blue or green, or if you can see green, do you kind of change that a little bit? Or
I can't see green cheese. No.
It was lovely. Well, we've got a wonderful guest with us today. We've got a good friend of ours from Agile 20 Reflect. We've got Jatin. How are you?
Hey,
Hello.
I'm good. How are you doing? Hey, Karl. Hey, Sabrina. We meet again, eh?
Yeah, it's lovely to see you again. Obviously, we've both worked together before through the Agile 20 Reflect. So it's nice to actually finally get you on the show.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So the first question that we ask everybody is to tell us a little bit about yourself and also tell us about your Agile journey.
So absolutely. So let me say a little bit about myself before I start with my Agile journey. My name is Jatin, and I'm in Canada, Toronto, to be precise. And I'm still is the Canadian ambassador for the Agile 20 Reflect. And I have been into IT since more than like 25 plus years. I don't want to put more numbers, otherwise you'll start, gauging me my age. So I want to avoid that. And at the same time, I've been worked across different business domains, whether you call it telecom or retail, banking, financials, data analytics, big data kind of thing. So being on the business side as well as on the technology front. And that's where in the year 2002, if I remember pretty well, I started working with XP. So I was working on a project which was on-site offshore model. And within the team on the on-site was purely working on XP. So that is where, of course, I did not know it was called as Agile that time. It was just called extreme programming. And coming from a bit of a technical background, it's like, okay, let's try it and see how it works. And with the client, it went on for more than a year. So it's like I got used to it. And luckily that time we had a rational software.
So can I ask you a quick question about extreme programming? Yeah. I've seen people do really well at it, and I've seen other people end up in fights. How did you manage to avoid getting into a fight over who was right about the programming?
So that's a nice question as well. I've just been lucky, I would say, that the team never fought over the on-site offshore, both the teams, I would say. One thing was very sure that, okay, whenever at the end of the day, whatever we would have completed, we would pass it off to the offshore team, right? And the offshore team, whenever they would get completed, they would pass it on to us. Second thing was what we came up with during that time was continuous integration and continuous deployment. Okay, right now it is called as CI/CD, but then we had Maven as one of the tools wherein it will tell us, like, the traffic lights would be there in terms of, okay, if anybody breaks the code, anything is broken, okay, that guy has to pay $1 for breaking the code, right? So, and during that time, the dollar was very expensive, right? So people were very careful before deploying it into the SIT environment or the UAT environment. So before doing that, okay, before pressing the button, be sure, otherwise you are going to lose $1, and every time you do it, it's going to be losing more dollars. So
what happened to all the money?
I was going to say, would that go towards your Christmas party? And do you know what? I might try that.
Absolutely. So what we, of course, because I used to travel between India and the US, so it was depending where I am. So if I was in the US, then it would be for Christmas. If I was in India, then it would be for the Diwali festival, what we have. So again, it depends. So of course, luckily we couldn't celebrate using that budget because it never grew. But then, of course, something was there.
That's good. So after what did you do after XP, and how did you move on?
Yeah, so during XP, while I was with when I came to, like, I was traveling bit, as I mentioned, between India and the US. I came across rational software because we were using that time for modeling. I was using UML, so Unified Modeling UML along with a tool called Rational Rows, wherein I could design software application development. And that's the time when I hit upon RUP, Rational Unified Process, which is now we call it as iterative also. But again, it did not have an umbrella where I would tell it that, okay, it falls under an agile umbrella or anything like that. People call it as UML, somebody call it as RUP or Rational Unified Process or RUP. And that's how I took it forward. But the best thing what I enjoyed during that time was, it was in short known as the shorter version of the waterfall, what we used to do, right? Oh, this is a waterfall methodology, iterative, but then, okay, take it as a small waterfall wherein you're doing some bits and pieces in, and not in sprints. That time there was nothing called a sprint, but then, okay, you're doing bits and pieces, you are delivering some features here and there. And, plus there was continuous integration and deployment happening. So that made some sense to me. And as soon as I jumped into it, I went through Rational Software for my training as well. And that's where these things started happening. Oh, this can work now. Like, this makes a lot of sense. I don't have to wait till the UAT happens and the customer comes and hits me on, you did this wrong, and this error is coming and everything, right? So that definitely helped in changing the game in the way I wanted to, take care of my customers' requirement, go forward with them. At the same time, this gave an edge to the customers, saying that, okay, if I could see something beforehand compared to what's happening at the end of the day or at the end of the contract, it's like it gives me more heads up. Plus, the level of involvement increases from what we were doing before. Right? Like even during that time when we were doing on-site offshore model, whether it was with UK or whether it was with US, the same thing would happen. Like at the UAT stage, the client would come back and say, something has gone wrong. These are the errors, or you did not understood the requirement well, and you are giving me at the end of the day, right? So that's where the pain points were. And hopefully RUP or RUP helped me out over there. And that's the time when I started running some of the projects, and we were successful. Knock on the wood for that, because I don't want to jinx it. It's been, I know it's been years, but then still, so, and since then it's like I got hooked onto it. I tried seeing if I could do, like, Spiral was one of the model as well that time, but then the success rate what I got with REP or RUP, that was phenomenal compared to anything else.
I like the way you describe it as lots of mini waterfalls, because even now there's companies who say they do Agile, but actually they're doing waterfalls. They're doing 2 weekly waterfalls.
The terminology that's going around at the moment, which I despise. And there's now, it used to be just one word that used to frustrate me and anger me, which was fragile. Now
guilty as charged.
I can't stand that word fragile. I used to get execs come up to me going, yeah, do you know what, I don't want to do Agile because it's fragile. It used to irate me.
Only when they do it.
Now the new word is Wagile, which is basically we're waterfall but doing Agile, but you're not. You're waterfall but splitting your Gantt chart into 2-week increments. And why is it always 2 weeks? So I now have 2021 is a year that now there's 2 words that really frustrate me. But
no, in that case, when like while working with CGI in 2008, where I was part of the core team, core PMO, we came out with something called as hybrid model, because people were still using waterfall, and like I was the Agile guy. Of course, now I know it's called Agile, but then during 2008, Canada was not ready for moving towards it. It was something new, right? But then, okay, what is the best way for me to start, implementing it? And the best thing was that I was part of a PMO group. I was the guy who was launching project management as a service at CGI, along with my VP, right? So this was this would be like, okay, I have to put my talent and my skills to the top gear, right? So that I could showcase out that, okay, this is what is going to come in future, and this is what is happening. This is where things are moving. So I said, you know what, we'll go as a hybrid model, wherein, okay, you're using some part of waterfall, which is there, and you're using some part of Scrum to be so that you can call it as an hybrid and then take things forward. So initially we did not have, we used to call it as daily hurdle instead of calling as daily Scrum, right? Oh, Scrum, oh, we are not doing Scrum. Okay, Scrum is Agile. Okay, we don't want to go there, So, oh, no, we are not doing Scrum. We are doing daily huddle.
So, right? So huddle, I think, is Six Sigma.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's where I hear it most.
Going here, because it's quite smart, because we have to as Agile coaches sometimes. Because I'm glad you've kind of mentioned the fact that, in the world that we live in, there's still very rarely purist Agile companies. There's still always that waterfall element, and you can actually mix the two frameworks together when required. You can't just completely rip out the waterfall element, especially in big corporations. But I also love what you did there, where you called them huddles, because sometimes you've got to change the terminology because it will freak people out if they're not too sure about this new way of working. And it's a smart thing we have to do as coaches. We're not manipulating people. We're still, doing the same thing, but we're kind of tweaking it to make people feel a bit more comfortable.
Absolutely. The second thing also I did, instead of going for a retrospective, of course, we didn't go with a sprint cycle. But then after every month, I would say, okay, let's do a lesson learned instead of saying retrospective, right? So people say, oh, lesson learned is okay. What we have learned in 1 month, we will connect and, But if I would say, oh, let's do retrospective, people would say, oh, we are not Agile yet. So why are you taking me there, right? So, okay, let's do lesson learn. I think so. We want to improvise ourselves, continuous learning. And that was happening that time. And improvement, continuous improvement as well. So, okay, let's go in with lesson learned. So after every month, I would sit with my team, with the senior folks, and say, okay, what did we learn in this month, and now how do we want to improvise? So that is what indirectly I was trying to help them move towards a retrospective, and then finally going to side. But in 2000, and I don't remember the exact year, but there was one client called Rogers. Rogers is a telecom company, something similar to how we have T-Mobile in the UK. Because I was in the UK, so I could, and I was your T-Mobile subscriber at that time, so I could connect with them. So similarly, we have Rogers over here, and Rogers Telecom or communication, what we call it as, they are heavily into not only telecom, but they are into home internet, home TV, cable TV as well, home security. And we were the first team to go pure Agile. And now when I say pure Agile, that means everything is Agile. That means we are using Jira or Rally. I think so. Rally was, if I remember that way, Rally was a tool which was used that time. We had teams sitting in the same rooms. So 5 rooms were there because there were 5 teams. We would have a Scrum happening. We would have a Scrum of Scrum happening as well, right? So it was already scaled that time. Even I'm talking in the year 2010 or something, if I remember. So we were already running Scrum of Scrum that time. Plus, at the same time, okay, some level of, because there were external vendors working, so they would not come in as saying that, okay, we would be part of your Agile or your Scrum teams or anything. So you run your 5 teams in Scrum mode. We guys are going to run it in a different mode. We will run the way we have. But then we will see that we are aligned to your plans the way you want to, you want to ship it out. And we will see our deliverables are matching yours. So, okay, fine. That works out beautifully. Absolutely. And believe me, this was a one year project, $30 million. My run rate per month, I was spending $2.5 million. Right. So it was like and again, time bound for 1 year. So that means if I couldn't even move by 1 sprint cycle that time. So it's like at the end of 1 year, that's it. Team is done. It has to be deployed. It has to be done. And touch wood again, we were able to deliver it with so many people coming in, 5 teams plus external parties which were there like KPMG who were auditing us because $30 million we were beyond the budget what some of the companies might have for a year or maybe multiple years. So we were getting audited on that. We had IBM as our infrastructure partners. We had TCS or Cognizant as a QA partner. We had Computer Associates as on the cybersecurity front. So there were a lot of multiple vendors working, plus different teams were there. So it was an awesome experience. Like I showcased this as one of my best projects, purely in telecom, just because of the sheer size of the number of people involved, more than 120 to 200 people. plus the size in terms of the budget also.
I'd like to go back slightly to the previous company. I've got one question. At the end, just before you ended that role, how did they react when they found out they were actually working in Agile, even though that you were using the terminology, the waterfall terminology? When they actually, or did they realize, was there a point they realized, hang on a minute, we have actually been working Agile all this time? Did they actually? And how did they react?
No, unfortunately, they did not. Yeah, we didn't reach that stage. Before that, I had to move on to the next one. So they never realized that this is what was happening, or this is how Jatin was driving us through. But maybe after I must have left and the buzzword started coming out, they might have realized, oh, we were already doing that, as you said, Sabrina. Yeah.
I'd love to go back and just say, did you were actually doing this? Sorry, I wanted to ask you that question because that would have been amazing.
So the first Agile project I did using a Kanban board, and didn't tell them it was a Kanban board. I had tokens that were funny. So, instead of blockers, we had a picture of a computer on fire. And it's that kind of thing is if you can think, our requirements were lists of things that were in prison, that needed to be released into the wild to be worked on. And I think, it's in the early days of Agile, you were allowed to do anything you wanted to get the job done. Whereas now people think that there are a very narrow set of ways to do it. It's like talking to Chris Stone when we talked to him in series 2, and his notions on retrospectives. They're fun, they're interesting, they're fun. And I think, we kind of lost some of that these days.
No, I think it's down to the coach or the scrum masters, because I know I try and bring in a little bit of fun. Obviously, what we do for a living, we're trained to flex things when it needs to be flexed, but we're also trained to be fun people. And you'll find most Agile coaches are either dyslexic. That's one thing we've noticed recently. Both me and Karl are dyslexic. We did a talk on dyslexia. Scott, that you'll know what a chief pirate in Agile 20 reflects dyslexic. So one thing we know is Agile coaches are dyslexic. And secondly, they are fun people. We are fun people. We bring games into light and we do fun things. True. But yeah, I would love, with all the tools that we use now, Jira, if you're Atlassian, if you're listening to us, bring animations into your boards.
It's too locked down. As someone said to me recently, we use Jira, that's an Agile tool. And I said, no, it isn't. Atlassian adapted it. Because they're about to lose huge amounts of markets. But I used it before it had the features that people now associate with Agile. But there's...
True.
I'm actually going to tag Atlassian in this video. I'm going to tag them and go, Atlassian, listen to us. We need some graphics. We need some more fun stuff in your actual. Please make the change. Make the blocked column turn into fire or something.
I remember... I was working with one of the maintenance applications with some insurance companies while working with CGI, and we were just using Jira just as a ticketing software. That's it. Nothing else, nothing beyond that. But then it's good that they caught on to the Agile world, right?
Oh, yeah.
See, your cap talks about it as well, right? The Agile part of the world, and then that's how they transform themselves. But I definitely agree. Give me some graphics, give me some,
developers who work through this minimal information experience, even with user stories, most developers look at them and go, what is this garbage? Because it doesn't really tell, a user story doesn't indicate the infrastructure they're accessing. It doesn't talk about, it's not really a full story. It's a presentation layer story. Well, actually, developers have to call data systems, they have to call libraries, they have to input data, they have to do the whole ETL thing. None of that's really in the user stories.
And if that, I would say, Karl, if they have to go at that level, that would become I would call it as more as a detailed user story, because you're talking of the environment, you're talking of the libraries, that these technical. Of course, I come from a technical background, so I'm not saying these, but I would have to include all of those things, right? But on top of that, I definitely agree that that's much required. So tomorrow if somebody else comes in, he can just look at the user stories with all those details and he can start working on. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, right.
That's the beauty of
because
user
if you're
stories, though.
if you're capturing
well, it's capturing the information, but making sure we're not telling them how to do their job. And I think that's one of the hardest things when people are reverting from waterfall to agile. They struggle with not telling them what to do instead of telling them what they want, which is actually in human nature a natural thing. We do it naturally by telling people what we want all the time. But when it comes to building something in IT, what are you doing, Karl? When it comes to building something
I'm trying to get you to
Very good, Karl.
No, it's just Jatin was going to say something.
I'm so
No, no, absolutely no worries. Come on, we know each other pretty well. So
I'm just being mean to Sabrina.
It's the passion that we all come together, right? That's the passion what helps us to connect with each other. Like what Sabrina was saying, that's the passion was coming on, and I was like looking at her. Wow, okay, she has that passion, and But I definitely agree with her as well. See, when we as an agile coaches go out, people think first of all that okay, all of us are carrying our Harry Potter magic wand, right? So that means once we step into with the team in sprint one, everybody is going to be agile, right? Like I don't want to name a client, but then I went in there for my transformation, and the guys, I asked them, so what are you guys doing? Oh, we are using Jira very well, and we are all agile because of that. And I said, wow, okay, you guys are really like you're not doing agile. That means just using my tool. Like, no, are you running any ceremonies? What ceremonies? I don't understand what ceremonies. What are ceremonies? So people think that okay, once you go in after the first sprint, the whole team is going to be agile and that transformation is going to happen. But then they forget that okay, to get the team to that self-organizing, or we call it as the maturity level of agile, it takes time and it takes patience, as well as you need an agile coach. It's not that okay, somebody goes gets himself trained as a scrum master, he will come in and help you out and get you there. I'm so sorry for people who are thinking that way. But then you need people who have experience, first of all, right? Second is okay, you can gain experience by, of course, not only just attending training, but then practicing is what makes you perfect. Right? I might go and attend.
What's the most? Sorry, I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, my bad. I might go and attend 10 different trainings, but then that doesn't make me an expert. Right?
So what's the most sprint zeros you've done?
All places I have to start with sprint zeros, where I run through my trainings, and that's where during the training, when as Sabrina also mentioned, we play agile games, right? And that's when it hits upon them saying that, oh, so I have a game wherein, of course, I innovated myself that it's a coin game what we all play, if you remember. But I innovated a slightly different way so that I could capture the timings, I could capture how the team is doing, how fast they can see the difference. And when they do the comparison between the way they were doing projects and where the agile way of doing projects, they are zapped and they are like, oh, this is the way I want to do for my projects. So I want to go the agile way. I don't want to look at what was happening before. But that means earlier people would think that, oh, if I'm doing waterfall, that means my quality control will be at the topmost, right? Oh, because quality is getting a lot of time. They are doing everything, from till the T, and it should be great. But then when we are running these stories and when we are running these games, that's when they realize that, okay, agile can, help me out and can be beneficial. And that's the first step which I do.
Yeah.
Are you finding now, obviously I've noticed, one thing I've noticed on the market is the requirement for an agile coach is, and the understanding of what an actual agile coach does. I think there's still some gray lines, some people don't understand. Are you finding on the market that companies are now realizing the importance and the worth of actually implementing an agile coach? Because I think back a few years ago, and it was still very much a, we don't think we need them, we're just going to get our scrum masters to do it. That's the one thing I noticed. Have you noticed the same thing?
So just to add a little bit on that, and I'll reply to your question. So first of all, I am an IC Agile accredited instructor, so I do trainings on the Agile coaching track. So I have students or participants who come in for not only for the Agile team facilitation, but they come for the Agile coaching certification as well. And I agree with you, Sabrina, that people have started noticing, at least in Canada also, I would say. US, I can't talk about US market, but in Canada, especially in Toronto, which is the financial hub of Canada, people have started moving people from waterfall to Agile. People who are already on the Agile side as Scrum Masters, they have started moving to become more as an Agile coaches as well. And from an industry point of view, they want people who have some experience, 3 to 5 years of experience as an Agile coach to help them during their transformations. Yes. I know just before we started this conversation, you got a call from one of your recruiters. Similarly, I did also get a couple of calls in the morning saying that, okay, people are looking for Agile coaches and they want people who have experience in doing those transformation and helping people change their mindset, especially on the leadership level. That's what I'm getting nowadays.
Yeah.
Do you think that's actually possible? I mean, it's a bit of a concern that, was it 60 years ago they banned subliminal advertising on the basis that it was about mind control, and now we're telling people we can go out and change their mindsets. I mean, what's your feeling about mindset training? Because you can't. An actual mindset is something that's adopted by someone. You can't learn it. You have to absorb it.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. But also at the same time, I want to add, you need to absorb and adopt to it. Okay, I can give you a quick example. Is let's say before even COVID hit us, how were we? Right, we were carefree, running around things, getting things done the way things were happening. But once COVID hit, initially, okay, people thought that, oh, it's just a 3 months thing, right? Okay, maybe it's like working from home, good vacation time, spend time with the family, blah blah blah. But then when it got extended, it's like, okay, now I have to adopt to it. I don't have options, right? When you don't have options, you will start adopting and you will feel, after a couple of months, you'll feel comfortable with it. And now if tomorrow things become better, of course, you want to go out, but then at times you would say, can I work from home? I am more comfortable working from home. I have more flexibility. I get more time. I'm shortening my travel time, right? Again, depends on how much time you are traveling and where you are traveling, right? And of course, the traffic and the populations and the pollution and whatever. You're doing good for the environment. But on the other side, if you take it, I 100% agree. That is the biggest challenge, changing people's mind. And that is the biggest challenge. And that's where people like you, me, we as Agile coaches come in. Because first of all, we have already trained our mind to that. Second thing is, as an Agile coach, I emphasize more on emotional intelligence also. Like I do those kind of training as well, where leaderships come in to understand, okay, why we want to go towards Agile, how it's going to help me out, what are the benefits, and plus I have to help them change the way they are thinking of, right? If I do transformation, or as Karl, you might have done transformation, if you do just bottom up, it's going to fail because the teams below are going to be Agile, but leadership will not see that. They will say, Jatin, give me that status report every week. I want that status report to be seen. I'm not going to walk around the office to see your wall, what's happening, or open Jira, but I want to give me the status report. What is the budget happening? Which resources are working where? So all kind of matrices they are going to ask me. But then if I help them change that lookout, saying that, okay, why don't you log into Jira? You could get everything plus more than what is happening. Oh, okay, this is what is getting delivered when. Of course, if you want the budget and status on that is fine. That could be external, but I can still build it on. But in terms of resources, which resources is working what is my resource utilization? Okay, give me that. I have everything, it's all there. But then, you need to change the way you're doing business before. And the best example, which we all use, I know you must have used it also, would be Blockbuster with Netflix, which was in North America, right? And in all my training, I ask, tell me one store in the US, because I have people who attend from US and Canada. I ask them, give me one store which is still available or open as a Blockbuster in the US, because that's where it started up. And now, based on Netflix coming in, there are so many other providers who are there as well. Like Disney has jumped into it. Anybody who's having that kind of a business, they have all jumped into online entertainment, right? So you have to go with the times. Like if you don't change your mind, you're going to be left out. Like when we started with Scrum, we never knew that Kanban was going to come, right?
Yeah.
But Kanban came in and everybody started adopting to it, and it was like
Kanban's been around since 1945.
But like I would agree with you on that.
But I wasn't there. Just saying it now.
No, but it's like before even Scrum was, like Scrum got adopted, like not adopted. We all embrace Scrum. We all embrace Agile. That's when people started looking on the Kanban side as well.
But Kanban was used by the military and for logistics.
Absolutely.
It wasn't used for anything to do with software. So I came across it through logistics. And I think this is we need to be open to cross-pollination, because otherwise we stop learning, we stop listening, we stop doing anything new, and then we end up like Blockbusters or Kodak.
Of course, absolutely.
We need to take a moment here, because Blockbusters was a big part in our life. Rest in peace. We miss you, but we love Netflix. We always, as soon as you said blog post, I was just thinking my childhood there of actually going to get videos. We miss you, but we love Netflix. Sorry, I needed that moment.
But if you see, Karl, in that way, most of, like, at least I can talk from the North American side, is most of the things which were used in the military has come out to the common people in the world, right? Yeah. And the industry, right? Like internet itself was used in the military in the US before it came out, right?
Yeah, it was the command and control for the nuclear missiles. So, and it was never meant to be a shared network, which is why it's not secure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just to add on to what I was saying, like if you remember, like during the PMI stages, right? PMI, Project Management Institute, when they came out with earlier, they were only catering to people on the construction side. Right? It was purely based on construction industry. So they had there is still a tool called Primavera, which is still out there, which is heavily used by construction people, right? Yeah. But then it's like once IT, again, it's people started picking it up, especially on the IT side. It's like, okay, Microsoft came out with MS Project, and then there were different tools which came out. And then it's like, if anybody says about Project Management Institute, people say, oh, you are from IT. You are not from construction industry. That's how it points out. So again, I think so. IT industry has evolved itself over the years. They have adopted to all the changes, right? And I'm so happy that I'm part of IT. Like I've grown, I have born and grown in IT, I would say. And plus with the new evolvement which was happening. And but before I say anything else, I want to thank you all guys, first of all, on the Agile 20 Reflect. Like I'm being the Canadian ambassador, I enjoyed it a lot. And I don't want to miss out this opportunity, because if you ask me other questions, this might go off. So I don't want to, miss out on this thing. But it was great collaborating with Sabrina and with you, Karl. And believe me, like that 1 month where we went through, I had not known so many people. Nor people knew about me, right? But then I presented at a lot of other places. Like I did my 6 to 7 presentations, and of course, me and Sabrina, we connected at a couple of places as well. It's like people are there to know more about Agile, and you guys came up with a great platform. Like not only, like of course, it was all free, which is great. I would say thanks to, but it was people wanted to share their knowledge. Like people like me, people like you, like Sabrina. We want to share our knowledge, right?
So the whole purpose was to facilitate, which kind of sounds quite familiar. We facilitated a re-look at why we're doing this, and I really like the fact that there were so many people from so many different types of Agile, and we didn't talk about types of Agile, we just talked about experience, and I really liked that. We got past the wars, the Agile wars, and got into what's the Agile values, and how did we help our clients, and what did they do with it? How did they evolve? So very exciting.
Me and Karl got to meet each other. I mean, we've never physically met each other, and we're two personalities that people still to this day can't believe we get.
I'm a lot taller in real life.
Well, we haven't proved it yet. We're hoping to meet soon. But yeah, we got to meet each other. We set up a little business together. Agile World's come out of it. It's been absolutely amazing. But you're right. I would never have had an opportunity to do some work with you and meet you if we hadn't connected through Agile 20 Reflect and created not just a friendship, but we've got it's so many mutual things that we've both done in our past and learnings and everything like that. And
don't forget Access Agile's coming along as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening with that, and we're expecting more festivals. I'm facilitating the innovation work stream, which is looking at new things to add to Agile.
Nice.
Because we're the story's not finished. It's there are things that someone's come up with a way to work out ROI, return on investment for Agile, which is really cool, but a bit of a shocker, because it's actually not as difficult as you think.
Absolutely. Like on the innovation part, I can just add, like I know you might have heard about Peter Stevens, right? So I did personal agility with him, and I'm an ambassador with him as well. And that's where I said that I want to innovate something called as a team agility system. So based on his as a foundation, I want to build something on top of it as a team agility system. And like he said, okay, I'm game for it. So let me know when I can help you out. So hopefully you will get some time and mentor me, so that tomorrow you might hear about team agility system. So you know whom you are going to talk with.
That'd be great. And Peter was the first episode of this series.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. Absolutely. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for your time. We can't wait to get you back on the show, because we always have such fun with you. We absolutely love it. And we've got some panelist talks coming up soon, and we'll probably have the perfect panelist talk for you as well. So this won't be the last time we get to see you. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us tonight. And thank you very much for your Agile journey.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your time, man. It was great collaborating. Take care.